Hello fellow boomers. For those of you who are new to our channel, welcome. For our return viewers, welcome back. Have you ever wondered how your phone knows that you want to buy the specific pair of sneakers you glanced at only once? Or how a streaming service recommends a movie that feels like it was made just for you? It's not magic, and it's not a coincidence. It's predictive analytics. This is the new frontier, a powerful technology that's quietly reshaping our world, one prediction at a time. It's a sophisticated system that uses advanced computer programs to look at huge piles of data, your data, and forecast what you might do next. These algorithms are like digital fortune tellers, but instead of a crystal ball, they use your past behavior to guess your future. Essentially, predictive analytics is all about finding patterns. Think of it like a detective examining clues at a crime scene. Every digital action you take leaves behind a clue. Every website you visit, every item you add to your cart, every song you stream, and every post you like on social media creates a breadcrumb trail. Predictive analytics gathers all these crumbs, puts them together, and builds a surprisingly detailed picture of who you are. This picture isn't just a static portrait, it's a dynamic model that tries to anticipate your next move, your next purchase, and even your next big life decision. It's a powerful tool for businesses and organizations. The implications of this technology are massive, and they stretch far beyond just getting you to buy more stuff. This isn't just about targeted ads for yoga pants or coffee makers. Predictive analytics is being used in almost every sector you can imagine. In healthcare, it's used to predict disease outbreaks or identify patients at high risk. In finance, it helps banks detect fraudulent transactions before they happen. Even in law enforcement, it's being used to forecast where crimes are most likely to occur. As we dive deeper into this data-driven era, understanding how these predictive engines work is no longer optional. It is absolutely essential for navigating modern life. The core idea is simple. The past predicts the future. By analyzing what we've done, these systems make educated guesses about what we will do. In other words, predictive AI focuses on analyzing historical data to forecast future outcomes, thereby improving existing operations. But the consequences are anything but simple. While these predictions can offer incredible convenience and personalization, they also bring up some big, thorny questions about our lives. How much of our personal information are we giving away? Who gets to see it? And what are they doing with it? And as these algorithms get better and better at predicting our behavior, how much of our free will are we handing over? This is the central tension of our digital age, the balance between convenience and control, or, if you wish, between our increasing speed of lives to our safety and security. It is a delicate game that everyone needs to master and knows its rules. To fully understand this topic, stay tuned until the end of this video. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, make sure to hit the subscribe button below and click the little bell beside it. Let's talk about your digital footprint. It's the trail of data you leave behind every time you go online. And in today's world, that trail is enormous. It's not just your search history or your social media profile, it's the location data from your phone, the shows you binge watch, the articles you read, the emails you send, and the photos you take. Each of these data points is a tiny piece of a much larger puzzle, you. This digital footprint is no longer a faint impression, it's a detailed, high-resolution shadow that follows you everywhere, documenting your habits, your interests, your relationships, and your routines with startling accuracy. The significance of this digital footprint cannot be overstated. Every single click, every like, every share, and every purchase adds another brushstroke to the portrait that companies and organizations are painting of you. This isn't just abstract data floating in the cloud, it's a narrative. It's a story about your life that is being written, analyzed, and used to influence your decisions. Companies use this story to tailor their marketing strategies, showing you ads they believe you can't resist. They use it to customize your user experience, creating a personalized bubble designed to keep you engaged and coming back for more. This data-driven approach has fundamentally changed the game for countless industries. Marketing is the most obvious example, evolving from broad-based campaigns to hyper-personalized messages aimed directly at individuals. But the impact goes much deeper. In the financial sector, your digital footprint can influence your credit score, or whether you get approved for a loan. In healthcare, it can be used to assess your risk factors for certain conditions. Even law enforcement agencies are using data analytics to make decisions that can significantly impact people's lives in the real world. Your digital identity is becoming as important as your physical one. This places us at a pivotal juncture. On one hand, the analysis of our past behaviors can bring incredible benefits. Personalized recommendations can save us time and introduce us to things we love. Predictive health alerts could save lives, but on the other hand, this constant monitoring raises serious concerns about privacy. To what extent are we being watched? And how much control do we really have over the narrative being built about us? As we explore the intersection of technology and our personal lives, we must confront these questions and consider the potential consequences of letting algorithms guide our choices and define who we are. So, where did all this data suddenly come from? It feels like one day we were just living our lives and the next we were swimming in an ocean of information. The answer is probably in your pocket right now. The explosion of data generation is largely thanks to the rise of smartphones and the countless sensors packed into our daily lives. These devices aren't just for calls and texts anymore. They are powerful, always-on data collection machines. They are constantly gathering information about our behaviors, our preferences, and our interactions with the world around us. Every time you unlock your phone, use an app, or even just walk down the street, you're leaving a trail. Think about what your smartphone knows. It knows where you are thanks to GPS. It knows who you talk to through your call logs and messages. It knows what you're interested in from your browsing history and the apps you use. And that's just the start. We're surrounded by other sensors too. Wearable tech like fitness trackers and smartwatches monitor our heart rate, our sleep patterns, and how many steps we take. Smart home devices listen for our commands. Even the security cameras in a shopping mall are collecting data. This constant stream of information creates a comprehensive minute-by-minute picture of our lives, often without us even realizing it. This isn't some far-off future scenario, it's happening right now. The sheer volume of data we produce is mind-boggling. We have become the primary source of the raw material that fuels the entire predictive analytics industry. Every single action, no matter how small, contributes to this massive data stockpile. Checking the weather, ordering a pizza, tagging a friend in a photo, it all goes into the system. We are living in an era of unprecedented data collection, where our every move is documented, stored, and analyzed. The line between our physical lives and our digital lives has become incredibly blurry, almost non-existent. The result is that our personal identity is being transformed. We are no longer just defined by our thoughts, actions, and relationships in the real world. We now have a digital counterpart, a data-driven version of ourselves that exists in servers and databases. This digital identity is built from the ground up, piece by piece, with every bit of data we generate. And as we'll see, this data-driven identity is becoming more and more influential in shaping our opportunities, our choices, and how the world sees us. The data geyser has erupted and we are all standing right in the middle of it. This overwhelming amount of information is referred to as big data. It's a term you've probably heard thrown around, but what does it actually mean? Think of it this way. If traditional data was a lake, big data is the entire ocean. Since around 2013, the amount of data created worldwide has gone completely off the charts. This surge is fueled by the billions of people now online, the explosion of social media, and the ever-growing network of connected devices known as the Internet of Things, or IoT. Big data refers to datasets so enormous and complex that old-school data processing software just can't handle them. They're too big, too fast, and too messy. Big data isn't just about the sheer volume of information, though that's a huge part of it. It's also defined by what data scientists call the 3 V's: volume, velocity, and variety. Volume is the massive scale we just talked about. Velocity is the incredible speed at which data is being generated and processed. Think of the millions of tweets, Google searches, and credit card swipes happening every single second. And variety refers to all the different types of data being collected, from structured data like names and addresses in a database, to unstructured data like photos, videos, and social media posts. It's a chaotic, beautiful mess of information. The implications of big data are transforming everything. It's not just a topic for tech nerds and statisticians anymore. It's fundamentally changing how businesses make decisions, how governments create policies, and even how we understand ourselves. Companies are using big data to spot market trends, optimize their supply chains, and create products they know will want. Governments are using it to improve public services and manage cities more efficiently. In essence, big data has become the new natural resource of the 21st century, and everyone is racing to mine it for insights and value. This shift puts our personal data at the very center of the modern economy. Our daily lives, once private, are now the fuel for this massive data engine. The patterns in our collective behavior provide the roadmaps that guide major economic and social decisions. This raises a critical question. If our data is so valuable, who should control it, and who should profit from it? As we navigate this new landscape, understanding the concept of big data is essential. It's the context for everything that follows. It's the ocean we're all swimming in, whether we like it or not. To truly understand how predictive analytics works, you need to see it in action. Let's go beyond the abstract theory and look at a real-world experiment. Meet Pina and Jacob. They were two ordinary people who agreed to do something extraordinary. They handed over their smartphone data to a team of researchers. This wasn't just about their browsing history. It was everything. Their call logs, their text messages, their app usage, their GPS locations, and even the health data collected by their phones. The goal was to see if by analyzing this raw data, the researchers could not only understand their current lives, but also predict their future actions. The setup was designed to be as comprehensive as possible. By gaining access to this treasure trove of personal information, researchers could begin to piece together the daily rhythms of Pina and Jacob's lives. They could see the patterns emerge from the noise. For instance, the data might show that Pina is an early riser who consistently visits a local coffee shop between 8 and 8:30 in the morning on her way to work. It might reveal that Jacob is a night owl who spends his late evenings scrolling through fitness forums and ordering workout supplements online. These individual data points, seemingly insignificant on their own, start to form a powerful narrative when collected and analyzed together over time. This experiment serves as a perfect microcosm of how predictive analytics operates on a much larger scale. Companies and governments are doing this with millions of people every single day. They are constantly collecting our data, looking for those same kinds of patterns in our behavior, our routines, and our preferences. The core principle is that our past actions are the best indicator of our future ones. If Pina has gone to the same coffee shop for the past 20 weekdays, the algorithm can predict with a high degree of certainty where she will be tomorrow morning. It's not magic, it's just math based on a detailed history of her life. Of course, this level of access immediately brings up some pretty big questions about privacy. Pina and Jacob willingly participated, but most of us are part of similar informal experiments without giving our explicit, informed consent every single time. Every app we download and every service we sign up for comes with a lengthy terms of service agreement that often grants companies broad access to our data. The story of Pina and Jacob is our story. It's a journey into what it means to live a life that is constantly being recorded, analyzed, and ultimately predicted by algorithms we don't control and rarely understand. To push the experiment further, researchers equipped Pina and Jacob with Google Glass, wearable computers that record everything from a first-person view. Now, it wasn't just about their phone activity, it was about what they saw, where they went, and who they interacted with in real life. The glasses captured every product Pina glanced at, every face Jacob met, and every route they took through the city. This visual data, synced with their smartphone logs, created a multi-dimensional profile of their daily lives. The experiment shifted from digital tracking to near-total surveillance, blurring the line between observation and intrusion. With this level of detail, algorithms could predict not just what they'd buy, but where, when, and even why. The integration of wearable tech like Google Glass marks a new era, where our physical world becomes a data stream. Every glance, every interaction, every moment, all captured, quantified, and analyzed. The digital footprint is no longer just online, it's everywhere we go. This is the new frontier of data, where perception itself becomes information. The constant surveillance took a toll on Pina and Jacob. They felt watched, second-guessing their actions and wondering if they were performing for the researchers. The observer effect became deeply personal, making them question their own authenticity. Jacob worried about being judged by raw, unfiltered data. His privacy felt invaded, even with consent. Their experience highlights the ethical dilemma, progress versus privacy. Yes, this research can drive innovation, but at what cost to personal freedom? The researchers promised anonymity, but trust is fragile once your data is out there. Pina and Jacob's journey puts a human face on the debate. Where do we draw the line? In the digital age, trust in how our data is used is more valuable and more precarious than ever. Their story forces us to ask, how much privacy are we willing to trade for progress? Predictive algorithms shape our shopping experiences every day. By analyzing data like Pina's coffee runs and browsing habits, Retailers create hyper-personalized recommendations. Algorithms use collaborative filtering, matching your behavior with millions of others to predict what you'll want next. The result? Ads and suggestions that feel tailor-made, streamlining your decisions and making buying effortless. It's like having a personal shopper who knows you better than you know yourself. But this convenience comes at a price. You're placed in a bubble, seeing only what the algorithm thinks you'll like. Your preferences are reinforced and your exposure to new things shrinks. The line between serving you and selling to you blurs. Algorithms don't just predict your choices, they shape them. In this world, convenience and control are always in tension. Predictive analytics has entered law enforcement too, most notably with PredPol. By analyzing historical crime data, PredPol predicts where and when crimes are likely to occur, creating hotspots for police patrols. The goal: prevent crime before it happens by allocating resources more efficiently. In Santa Cruz, this approach reportedly reduced property crimes. But the system relies on flawed, biased data, often reflecting over-policing in certain neighborhoods. Algorithms can reinforce these biases, sending more police to the same areas and creating a feedback loop. The promise of objectivity is undermined by the reality of historical prejudice. Predictive policing shifts strategy from reaction to prediction, but at what social cost? The risk turning data-driven policing into a self-fulfilling prophecy. Technology can't fix bias if it's built on biased data. As the experiment continued, Pina and Jacob's excitement faded into unease. Living under constant observation, they questioned whether their choices were truly their own. The line between authentic behavior and performance blurred, creating anxiety and self-doubt. Predictive models felt like a challenge to their agency, boxing them in, reducing their lives to patterns. The technology saw what they did, but not why they did it. Their routines became data points, stripped of meaning and emotion. Even with consent, the process felt dehumanizing. They wondered, who owns this intimate portrait of their lives? What happens to it next? Their story is a reminder: behind every data point is a person, with complexity algorithms can't capture. The promise of predictive analytics must always be weighed against our need for privacy, autonomy, and the freedom to be unpredictable. The doubts felt by Pina and Jacob scale up to a massive societal problem: the ethics of the algorithm. Predictive analytics isn't a neutral tool. The algorithms that power it are built by people, and they are trained on data from a world that is full of existing biases and inequalities. As we saw with the PredPol example, if you feed an algorithm biased data, you will get biased predictions. This isn't a hypothetical problem, it's a real-world issue that can have devastating consequences, reinforcing stereotypes and creating digital barriers for already marginalized communities. An algorithm can become a high-tech way to launder old-fashioned prejudice. This raises a critical question of accountability. When a predictive system makes a mistake, who is responsible? Is it the programmer who wrote the code, the company that deployed the system, the user who acted on the prediction? If a predictive health algorithm fails to flag a serious illness in a patient from a demographic that was underrepresented in its training data, who is at fault for the misdiagnosis? The black box nature of many complex algorithms, where even their creators don't fully understand how they arrive at a decision, makes it incredibly difficult to assign blame or seek justice. This lack of transparency is a major hurdle for ethical oversight. Furthermore, we must consider who controls the narrative that these algorithms are writing about us. The digital identity created by your data is becoming increasingly powerful. It can influence whether you get a job interview, are approved for a mortgage, or are accepted into a university. Yet you have very little control over this identity. You often don't know what data is being collected, how it's being interpreted, or even how to correct it if it's wrong. You might be a responsible person, but if your data profile lumps you in with a high-risk group, you could be denied opportunities without ever knowing why. This is the new frontier of civil rights. We are grappling with how to ensure fairness, equity, and due process in an age of automated decision-making. There are growing calls for algorithmic transparency, requiring companies to explain how their predictive models work and what data they use. There are also pushes for the right to an explanation, giving individuals the power to challenge decisions made by algorithms. The ethical framework for this technology is still being built, and it's a conversation that needs to involve everyone, technologists, policymakers, ethicists, and the public, to ensure that our digital future is a just one. What is your opinion on the ethical rules that should be applied to predictive analytics? Please share with us in the comment section below. So, are we doomed to be puppets on the strings of predictive algorithms? Not necessarily. The growing awareness of these issues is sparking a movement to reclaim our digital agency. It begins with data literacy. Understanding how our data is being collected and used is the first step toward taking back control. It's about learning to read the fine print in terms of service agreements, using privacy-enhancing tools like VPNs and secure browsers, and being more mindful of the digital footprints we leave behind. It's a shift from being a passive user of technology to an active, informed digital citizen who understands the value and power of their personal information. This fight for agency is also happening at a policy level. Governments around the world are starting to respond to the public's demand for better data protection. Regulations like Europe's General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR, are landmark pieces of legislation that give individuals significant rights over their data. These include the right to access the data a company holds on you, the right to correct inaccuracies, and even the right to have your data deleted. These laws are an attempt to rebalance the power dynamic between individuals and the massive corporations that collect and profit from their data, setting a new standard for how personal information should be handled. Technology itself can also be part of the solution. A new wave of privacy-focused startups and nonprofits are developing tools that help us manage our digital identities. There are services that can help you find and delete old online accounts, browsers that automatically block trackers, and platforms that are designed from the ground up to minimize data collection. The idea is to build an alternative tech ecosystem where the user is not the product. This approach, often called privacy by design, embeds privacy protections directly into the technology, rather than treating it as an afterthought. It's about creating systems that serve humans, not the other way around. Ultimately, reclaiming our narrative is about asserting our humanity in the face of the machine. It's about insisting that we are more than the sum of our data points. Like Pina and Jacob, we all have a right to be spontaneous, to change our minds, to be inconsistent, and to defy prediction. The future of predictive analytics doesn't have to be a dystopian one. By demanding transparency, advocating for strong regulations, and making conscious choices about the technology we use, we can harness the power of prediction to improve our lives without sacrificing our privacy or our freedom. The story of our digital selves is still being written, and honestly, we have the power to hold the pen. We've journeyed through the intricate world of predictive analytics, from the data explosion fueled by our own devices to the real-world experiments of Pina and Jacob, and the complex applications in everything from shopping to policing. We've seen how this powerful technology is not just observing our world, but actively shaping it, creating a new reality where our digital identity holds immense weight. This brings us to a fundamental reevaluation of what it means to be a person in the 21st century. Our sense of self is no longer just forged through our experiences, relationships, and inner thoughts. It is now co-authored by algorithms, constructed from the digital breadcrumbs we leave behind in our daily lives, creating a parallel identity that exists in the cloud. This digital twin, built from our clicks, likes, and location pings, has real-world power. It influences the opportunities we are given, the information we see, and the choices we are presented with. The story of Pina and Jacob serves as a powerful human-scale illustration of this new dynamic. Their journey from willing participants to wary subjects highlights the deep-seated tension between the convenience of a personalized world and the instinctual human need for privacy and autonomy. Their experience shows that while data can describe our habits with stunning accuracy, it often fails to capture the essence of our humanity, the spontaneity, the contradictions, and the unquantifiable motivations that drive us. This is the core challenge of our time, the commodification of our identity, where our personal narratives are mined for predictive value, forces us to confront difficult questions. Who benefits from this constant analysis? In a world where data is the new oil, we are the resource being extracted. This often occurs without fair compensation or a clear understanding of the terms. If there is one sentence that summarizes it and you should remember is the following one: if you're not paying for the product or service, you are probably the product. So have you ever realized that you were being treated as the product? Please share your experience in the comment section below. The convenience of a perfectly tailored ad or helpful recommendation comes at the cost of handing over the raw material of our lives to corporations and systems that may not have our best interests at heart. We are becoming predictable consumers in a marketplace that thrives on knowing our next move before we do. Ultimately, we must recognize that our identity is becoming a hybrid entity, a blend of our physical self and our data-driven counterpart. The challenge is not to reject technology but to engage with it critically and demand a more equitable relationship. We need to move from being passive data producers to active architects of our digital selves. This requires a new level of digital literacy and a collective will to question the systems that seek to define us. The story of our identity is still being written, and we must ensure that our own voice, in all its complex and unpredictable glory, is not drowned out by the hum of the algorithm. As we stand at this technological crossroads, the future of predictive analytics stretches out before us in two distinct directions. One path leads towards a future of unprecedented convenience, efficiency, and even safety. Imagine a world where predictive health systems virtually eliminate sudden heart attacks by providing early warnings, where smart cities use predictive models to manage traffic and energy consumption flawlessly, and where personalized education adapts to every student's unique learning style. This is the utopian promise of predictive analytics, a world optimized by data, where many of life's frictions and dangers are smoothed away by the power of foresight. This is the world that technology evangelists champion. The other path, however, leads to a more dystopian future, one that amplifies the concerns we've explored. This is a world of pervasive surveillance where our every action is monitored, scored, and used to determine our access to jobs, loans, and social standing. It's a future where algorithmic bias, like that seen in predictive policing, becomes entrenched, creating digital caste systems that reinforce existing inequalities. In this version of the future, our autonomy is eroded, and our choices are subtly manipulated by systems designed to maximize profit or control. Our digital footprints become a permanent record that can be used against us, and the freedom to experiment, to fail, and to change is sacrificed for the sake of predictability. The direction we take is not predetermined by the technology itself. Predictive analytics is a tool, and like any tool, its impact depends entirely on how we choose to wield it. The choices we make today, as individuals, as societies, and as policymakers, will determine which future we build. Will we prioritize corporate profits and state control over individual rights? Or will we demand transparency, accountability, and ethical safeguards to be built into the very fabric of these systems? The debate over regulations like GDPR is just the beginning of a much larger global conversation about the rules of the road for the data age. The story of Pina and Jacob and the case of PredPol in Santa Cruz are not just anecdotes, they are cautionary tales and signposts. They show us the potential and the peril in stark relief. They remind us that progress is not inevitable and that technological advancement does not automatically equate to human betterment. The future of prediction requires our active participation and our constant vigilance. We must steer this powerful technology toward a path that enhances human dignity and freedom, rather than diminishing it. The choice is ours, and the stakes could not be higher for the kind of world our children will inherit. So, how do we navigate this complex landscape and take back control of our digital narratives? The answer is not to unplug and retreat from the modern world. The answer lies in empowerment through knowledge and action. The first step is to cultivate a healthy skepticism and a critical eye. When a service is free, we must remember the old adage, you are not the customer, you are the product. We need to question the data we share, read privacy policies, and make conscious decisions about the trade-offs we are willing to accept between convenience and privacy. It's about transforming from a passive consumer of technology into an informed and discerning user. Secondly, we must actively use the tools at our disposal to protect our digital identity. This means embracing privacy-enhancing technologies. Use web browsers that block trackers by default. Employ virtual private networks, VPNs, to shield your online activity from prying eyes. Take the time to go through the privacy settings on your social media accounts and smartphone apps, restricting data access wherever possible. These individual actions, when adopted by millions, send a powerful market signal to tech companies that privacy is not a niche concern but a mainstream demand. It shifts the balance of power one user at a time. Beyond individual action, we must advocate for our rights collectively. This means supporting organizations that fight for digital privacy and pushing our elected officials to enact and enforce strong data protection laws. Regulations like Europe's GDPR are not a barrier to innovation, they are a framework for responsible innovation. They establish a baseline of rights, giving individuals control over their own information. We need to demand similar protections everywhere, creating a global standard that recognizes data rights as fundamental human rights. This collective voice is essential to hold powerful corporations and governments accountable for how they use our data. Ultimately, reclaiming our digital selves is an act of defiance against the reductionist logic of the algorithm. It is an assertion that we are more than predictable patterns of behavior. We are complex, creative, and gloriously unpredictable beings. The future of identity in the digital age will be defined by our ability to harness the incredible power of predictive tools without losing sight of what makes us human. By becoming educated, taking proactive steps, and demanding systemic change, we can ensure that our digital identity is a true reflection of who we are, not just who the data says we should be. The controls are there, it's time for us to take them back. If you found this glimpse into predictive analytics valuable, don't forget to like the video, share it with others who might benefit, and subscribe to the channel for more insights into data-driven decision-making. And let us know your thoughts or questions in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you.